Yo, what's going on, guys? I was traveling yesterday back from Latvia. I'd spent almost 2 weeks in Latvia covering Eurobasket, and when I landed last night, I was just too beat to make a video on this. It had happened while I was in the air. Kobe Bufkin. Yeah, and by the way, Scandinavian Airlines, no Wi-Fi. They just don't. They make you raw dot it. But either way, Kobe Bufkin traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Why did the Hawks do this? The Hawks wanted to save money on the tax because Tony Wrestler doesn't want to save money. This is a guy who's only been able to play 27 games so far in his NBA career. And I think they're just like, look, we're just going to probably sign a guard in free agency at this point. So why keep paying for someone who's going to be hurt? If you already look at what the Hawks roster looks like, and by the way, Brooklyn's a perfect place for him to go, even though they have a bunch of guards now, which I don't understand. But Krejci is already a pretty solid guard who I think they were hoping that was going to further develop. But if they go out there and bring in like a Corey Joseph or Markel Fultz or any of these guys that we'll mention later that are available in free agency, I think they're fine with their options there. But the Brooklyn Nets, they just take a flyer on a first round pick who was the 15th overall pick 2 years ago. And he's only been able to play 27 games the last couple of years due to just injuries happening. And they only took like $100,000 in cash. The Hawks traded Kobe Bufkin just for straight up cash. And the Nets take a flyer, low risk, decent payout if it works. So to me, I think that's the biggest thing is that, like, if you look at like what's gonna happen there, I think for me, I would assume that any team that has interest in Kobe and just taking him on was hoping that, okay, you're getting a 6'4" combo guard who can play both positions, has a little bit of creation skills, can defend. He was somebody that people like, but he's been just stuck on being, not able to stay healthy. And in the G League, he was a guy who averaged 24, 5, and 6 almost. 6 assists. And they created a roster spot, the Hawks, by doing this. And the Nets, by doing this, reached the minimum salary cap floor and also maintained $11.6 million in cap space. I like this deal. Now, before we talk about the Brooklyn Nets and why it works out for them, because, they hit the floor, but I want to talk about the Hawks real quickly. Because the Hawks, they're probably looking at the free agents available and thinking, look, we have a roster spot. We have somebody that we can go out and get now. And specifically to me, I think the biggest thing is if you're looking at the point guard market, not that it's bad, but it's good enough that the guys who are going to be available currently in free agency aren't going to cost anything more than a minimum salary. Russell Westbrook, who I doubt would come here because there's been no reports or any connection. I really thought Gary Payton was someone that they were going to do just because of Ansi Salah's prior connection. But Russell Westbrook would be someone who could wreak havoc defensively and create off the dribble for them and be a backup, but I don't know if that's what they're looking at. So if even there, and I thought Gary Payton, he's not a true point guard, but defensive-minded guard who can guard multiple positions. So I think that's the most interesting part about it all is that you look at somebody like Gary Payton, he's more of a backup guy. So I wonder if that's what you're going to want. Brogdon would have been good for them too, but even a Ben Simmons could be someone that they have interest. It's not what they need. Really, what they need is a backup point guard that's a Cameron Payne who can have some quickness, score from beyond the arc, be a pest on defense, and set up teammates for good looks, which Corey Joseph is the other guy that I would look into if I were them. And I mean, some people might say Monte Morris, what he was able to bring to Phoenix last year, shot pretty solidly, had a better year, but still kind of disappointing compared to his other years. And now let's go to the Brooklyn Nets. Just there, that's basically what I thought. If Atlanta did this move to bring in a veteran guard because they don't have a guard behind Trae Young that's a true guard, besides Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Nikola Drusic, Keaton Wallace, and Krejci. So let's go over to Brooklyn. Yago Demon, Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., Noah Clowney, and Nick Claxton are all probably going to be the starters. I expect at some point Nick Claxton to be traded, though. Danny Wolf, Zaire Williams, Haywood Highsmith, Terrence Mann, Nolan Traore, Ben Seraph, Jalen Wilson, Drake Powell, Keon Johnson, Bayron Sharp, Drew Timme, EJ Little, Tyrese Martin, Tariq Whitehead, Kobe Bufkin make up the team. They do have David Mocha and Tyson Etienne. I don't know if David Mocha, the player from Hong Kong, is expected to make the roster. I think he's more of the G League affiliate. But Kobe's buried, or he's going to have to compete with a lot of people for playing time. Seriously. Ben Seraph, Kobe Bufkin, Nolan Traore, Yago Demon. Right there, that's 4 guards. And we didn't even throw in Cam Thomas as a guard. Terrence Mann is a guard. So they have like 6 guards who are like combo guards or like point guards, basically, that they can't play other positions. I know Yago and Ben Seraph are probably big enough to play other positions. And the good thing about Kobe is that you can play off ball. So I actually think Kobe, out of Nolan Traore, Kobe, Yago, and Ben Seraph, I think Kobe still has the second highest ceiling out of the 4 of them. Nolan Traore, I really think he's kind of, at best case scenario, a pick and roll guard along the lines of a Corey Joseph, Kellyan Hayes. Kobe Bufkin, he was that's a very tall 6'4", two-way guard who can do a little bit of everything that people really liked. Ben Seraph, will he be athletic enough, have a creation game good enough to be effective in the NBA? So there's that one. And then Yagor, the other thing with Ben Seraph is that he could technically be a swingman if it doesn't work out. And Yagor could be like Josh Giddey in OKC if it doesn't work out, that he's like a point forward, which wouldn't be the end of the world for him. So I wonder what's going to end up being the remedy here. However, I think Kobe Bufkin was a solid pickup on their part. And at this point, when you look at the scouting report, I'm curious. He was a guy that, he had a solid little game. He could finish around the rim. Got good little going left and a solid step back jumper. He's got a nice little game. And he showed that he could be an effective catch and shoot player, disruptive on defense, and create opportunities in transition, block some shots as a guard. And sometimes he is someone who relies too much on scoring, but I think he's someone who is fun to watch. So let me know your thoughts on that. But that was my thoughts on the Kobe Bufkin trade.